What are you willing to do alone? Hold your ground under fire, lead an army of ghosts, or maybe single-handedly liberate an entire city? Most people don't believe this story because it sounds like fiction. But today, you're going to meet a man who didn't just do the impossible. He volunteered for it. And if you stick with me until the end, you'll hear how one man with one eye and no fear forced the Nazis to flee an entire city by himself. No backup, no orders, just grit, deception, and a war of noise. This was a person who refused medals, ignored generals, insulted authority, and still saved lives. He was called crazy, suicidal, even delusional. But in the end, they called him something else. Emperor of Zvola. This is the true story of Leo Major, the ghost soldier who couldn't be stopped. Leo Major was born in 1921 in Massachusetts, raised in Montreal by a father who was more fear than love. He grew up fast, fists before words, resolve before regret. He didn't run from conflict, he charged into it. By 19, while most teens were dreaming of girls and motorcycles, Leo volunteered to fight in World War II. Not for glory, not even for country, because deep down, he wanted a fight that mattered. He joined the Royal 22e Regiment, the Vendus, Canada's French-speaking battalion. Even among the rough ones, Leo stood out. He didn't respect rank, didn't care about medals, he cared about action. But war would test that attitude fast. On June 6, 1944, Leo landed on Juno Beach with the first wave. Mortars screamed. Blood painted the shore, but Leo moved forward, like he belonged in chaos. That same day, he captured a German armored vehicle, alone, and used its radio to feed enemy positions to Allied forces. No one told him to do it. He just did. But war doesn't reward heroes, it tests them. Weeks later, a white phosphorus grenade exploded near his face. He lost part of his vision. Doctors said he was done. Leo said, "I only need one eye to aim my rifle." And so, with half his vision and twice the resolve, he returned to the front. They called it a recon mission. Leo saw it as a challenge. Alone, he crept behind enemy lines near the Scheldt estuary and stumbled on something unthinkable: a cluster of confused British soldiers and an entire German patrol closing in. Most men would have run. Leo led the British to safety, then circled back, alone. He disabled a machine gun nest, outmaneuvered panicked Germans, and bluffed like a master. The result? 93 German soldiers marched back to Allied lines, guarded by one man with one eye. Command wanted to award him a medal. He refused. "I won't accept a medal from Montgomery," he said. "He's incompetent." Who was this man? And how far would his defiance go? The answer came in Holland, April 1945. The Dutch city of Zwolle was still under Nazi control. The Allies prepared a full attack. Leo said, "Let me try something first." He and his friend, Corporal Willy Arsenault, volunteered to scout the city alone. But as they entered under darkness, they were spotted. Willy was killed in the first exchange. Leo was now alone, behind enemy lines. And that's when madness turned into legend. Leo sprinted through streets, throwing grenades into empty buildings, firing his rifle wildly. He set fires, smashed glass, made noise everywhere. He captured a German officer, told him 10,000 Canadians were ready to attack, then let him escape. For 7 hours, the city echoed with war. But it was all coming from one man. By morning, the Nazis were gone, fled, vanished. The people of Zwolle crept outside and found one soldier standing in the street, his rifle down, his eye patch covered, his boots wet with rain. He had liberated a city alone. What happened next was almost surreal. As the sun rose over Zwolle, church bells rang for the first time in months. Shutters opened, doors creaked, families peeked out cautiously, some still in hiding, others clutching children, and then they saw him. A single soldier, covered in soot, standing calmly in the town square. Some thought it was a trap. Others thought it was a ghost. But it wasn't a trick. It wasn't a dream. Zvola was free. Words spread like wildfire. Farmers left fields to confirm it. Children ran through alleyways screaming, "Die Oorlog is voorbij," the war is over. Old men who had hidden radios began to weep openly in the streets. The German soldiers, confused, disoriented, thinking they were surrounded, had fled in the night. Some ran west, others north. Many discarded their uniforms to blend in. They'd been tricked by one man's war of noise and light. For days after, Leo Major was everywhere, helping people, directing traffic, even checking for mines, not as a conqueror, but as a caretaker. He didn't want a medal. He wanted people to feel safe again. And that's when Zvola began calling him their emperor. After the war, Leo returned to Canada. He married, worked as a pipe fitter, trying to live like the rest of us. But legends don't retire. In 1950, he joined the Korean War, again as a scout. At Hill 355, his unit was ambushed. Most fell back. Leo crawled through smoke and bullets, reached the hilltop, and held it for 3 days alone, repelling enemy assaults one grenade at a time. He accepted the Distinguished Conduct Medal this time, his second in 2 different wars. No one else in Canadian history can say that. But still, most people have never heard his name. Leo didn't want a parade. He didn't seek monuments. But in Zvola, he became more than a memory. He became a myth. To this day, murals of a man with one eye adorn the city. Children learn his name in school. Streets bear his legacy. In Canada, his story took longer to catch on. But in recent years, his tale is finally being told. A tale of madness, or maybe clarity. Of a man who didn't wait for orders to do the right thing. Decades passed. Wars ended. Cities healed. But in Zvola, one night was never forgotten. The night a ghostly soldier, with one eye and infinite courage, gave them back their home. Leo Major returned to Zvola many times. He didn't arrive with medals. He didn't wear a uniform, but he didn't need to. The people lined the streets. Children waved. Veterans saluted. Some of the elderly recognized him immediately. Others touched his hands and cried, finally able to thank the man they'd only heard stories about. In 2005, during the 60th anniversary of Zvola's liberation, Leo came back once more. His body was older, but his spirit was unchanged. They gave him a hero's welcome, not with brass bands and politicians, but with gratitude, flowers, and tears. A street was named after him, Leo Major Lawn, a mural painted, a legend secured. Not because he was perfect, not because he followed orders, but because when darkness closed in, he walked toward it, alone. When Leo Major died in 2008, his funeral wasn't front-page news. No state funeral, no military jets, but in Zvol, the bells rang. People gathered to light candles and tell stories. A stranger from another land, who gave them back their city. He wasn't tall, he wasn't a commander, he didn't wear medals, but he was everything a hero should be. He didn't follow rules, he followed purpose. You don't need 2 eyes to see the truth, he once said. Just one, and the will to walk toward it. What makes a hero, in your eyes? Is it someone who obeys, or someone who dares? Would you follow a one-eyed soldier into the dark if you knew he'd never stop fighting for what's right? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more stories of real people doing the unbelievable, this is the life you never knew. Subscribe, like, and never stop being curious.